And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
We get a lot of games in here at the Dice Tower, and many times games from first publishers just don't look that good. It's their first time through, the graphic design and the art a lot of times, but sometimes they look spectacular. And BetaBotz is one of those. Bite of Passage here, the robot building card game. It says here, bid, build, and bargain your way to the robot promised land. In this game, you have a robot, and as the game goes by, you're going to be increasing the stats of that robot and going off on missions, working and negotiating with other robots to see who can get the most bits at the end. Money. Here's how it plays. The goal of this game is to get the most beta, the most money. And you're going to have a lot of these. There's lots of different chips with different denominations. Players are going to start with a certain amount of that, but they're also going to need to have a robot to do more. There's going to be a mission deck in the middle of the table. This mission deck is going to be made up of different cards from Chiptropolis, Rustland, and Comptown. And you're going to be making up a deck randomly based on how many players are in the game. So what players are going to be doing is they're going to be bidding. You're going to start with a robot card here. They have different artwork on the back, but that doesn't really matter. It's just showing you the color of your robot. And you're going to be putting different tokens on here to keep track of your stats in 4 skills: agility, firepower, structure, and processor. And you'll have 2 on here. So for example, that means I have 2 agility. This means I have 12, 22, 24, etc. Now, at the beginning, you need to get a robot. So the very first part of the game, it's called phase 0. There's 10 phases of the game. There's technically 11. You're going to draw robots equal to the number of players, and players are going to bid on these robots. Whatever robot you get is going to show you your starting stats. So this guy's even across the board. This guy's 2-0, 10-0, etc. Now, in bidding, the way bidding works is you're going to put them out here in front of everybody, and then you're going to put a certain amount of money on them along with your bidding chip. Each player has a bidding chip matching a color. If somebody else comes in and bids higher on that one, then you're going to have to remove your bid and bid higher on that or move somewhere else. Each robot has a minimum bid, so this would have to be the first bid, 8. But after that, you can go as high as you want, and you keep going till everybody has gotten 1 robot. You then adjust your stats to show that that's your robot, and the game begins. Now, in most phases, the phase 1 through 10, you're going to be turning over components, but you're going to turn over 1 less than a number of players. These components, if you get them, will be added to your robots. You can see this one here adds 5 to the processor, while this one here adds 6 agility and 2 to the processor. If you notice, they have the numbers on both sides, so people on both sides of the table can see them. They also have a minimum number bid. The same thing happens each round. You will bid on these until everyone gets one, but there's not enough for everyone to get one. So instead of bidding, you are always allowed to draw a code card. Code cards are essentially special cards that you can play. This one here, reduce a stat on a robot by 2, increase a stat on your robot by 4, reduce a stat on a robot by 4. You can veto a mission. You can attack other players. Pick someone else just to lose 5 bits. That's the money. Here you get 5 bits. So there's all kinds of cards in here. Some of them are gold cards. They have this icon on them. They can be worth extra points at the end of the game. There's also components that have gold on them, and they're also worth extra points at the end of the game. After the auction is over, you will turn over the next mission. The mission will tell you what you need. So for example, here you need 12 firepower. If you don't have 12 firepower, then if you do get 12 firepower, you're going to get 15 bits. So if someone has 12 firepower on their own, boom, they go on that mission. But if players do not have 12 firepower, they can work together, they can make any kind of agreement, they fist bump, and then they're going to split the rewards according to the agreement that they made. So I might be like, hey, I got 10 firepower and you got 4, let's work together, but I'm taking 9 of this and you get 6. Now, of course, that player has to agree. If we do agree, boom, we complete the mission as a team. This one says you draw a code card if you complete it when not on a team. So if I just happen to have 12 firepower, I don't even need to work with anybody else. Anybody who doesn't succeed on the mission just doesn't get the reward. Although occasionally, something like this one here, a brewery repair, lose 5 bits if it's not completed. Lose 5 bits if not completed. Some of the missions can be huge. Here, save wild bots, you need 15 and 15. Here you need 25, structure, 20 and 20, with greater rewards, and then you'll have to work together as a team. That's pretty much almost the whole game. You're going to be doing that 10 times through, bidding on components and winning a component or getting a code card, then seeing if you can complete the mission that's there, and then going to the next round. You'll notice these cards here. These cards are called limit breaches. You get them if you reach a certain number on a certain thing. So for example, if I get 13 processor, I can pick one of these processor cards, and it's a special ability. Here, I can purchase a code card for 4 bits, once per enhancement building phase. So I can buy code cards. Agility, after completing a mission, I get 2 extra bits every time I successfully do a mission. Here I can make 1 stat go up by 2 during the mission phase. So these are basically special abilities. Each player has a card that says all the special abilities, so you don't need to keep looking at them. And the first person to get to the number on processor will get 1. The second person gets another one. If your stats ever go below that, you have to put these back and can't keep them until you get your number up again. That's it. Highest points is the winner of the game, or most money, actually, after the final round, is the winner of the game. As I said, stellar production. The card quality is very good. The graphic design is clean. Everything just has a good look to it. Everything fits nice and neatly in the box insert. The only problem I have component-wise is in this game, in the auction, those little tokens that you put on top of your things, it's a little awkward to say, I'm bidding 10 on this guy, and then someone else will be like, I bid 11. And I got to take my 10 off, add 2 to it, and go, I bid 12 back on it. That got a little fiddly. The piles were falling over. But other than that, the bits and everything, it looks really good. The concept of the game is one I like. Hey, I love the fact that you have a robot and you're slowly sliding those cards underneath and increasing your stats. You have a limit to the number of those cards you can have. You have a limit to the number of code cards you have, although there are certain cards that that allow you to break those limits. Also, and I didn't mention this in the overview, but there's also extra bonuses at the end of the game. Whoever has the most of those gold components in their thing is going to get 15 extra bits, and whoever has the most gold cards in their hand that they have not played gets 10 extra bits. And then the highest attribute that each person has, whoever has the highest attribute, period. So if I have like 22 firepower and that's higher than any other attribute, I get an extra 15 bits. So there's kind of those end game bonuses there. So the idea of building up the skills and going out missions and working together and not working together is a really good one. And yet I don't like the game. And there's several reasons for that, unfortunately. First of all, the auctions are the main part of the game, and they're just not that interesting. I will bid on this. No, I want that. No, I want that. All right, fine, I'll go over here. No, I want that. Now, there's a lot of auctions that do that, but this one, the different bits, the different parts, components, aren't that exciting. And I should have a side note here. I don't understand why the components don't accelerate over the course of the game. It's a big deck of components, and so these junky components and the good components are all mixed together, and sometimes near the end it's a bunch of junky, sometimes at the beginning it's good. They don't really like increase. I'm surprised that they don't get better as the game goes by. They just don't. So it's like, sometimes it's just, I don't really care. And most auctions just end up boring. And the auctions are kind of tedious, and they're a good chunk of the game. Most of the round is an auction, then go into missions, then an auction, then go into missions. And you do that 10 times in the 7th or 8th auction, you're like, oh, I'm getting tired of this over and over and over auctioning. It just, some games that can pull it off, this one does not. But also, the second problem I have with the game is the missions themselves. They're so random that sometimes they will just favor a player. If, for example, a mission is like, you saw that one I showed, where you have 12 firepower, and if you go on your own, you get a code card. And so for some reason, I picked a robot that has 12 firepower. I'm like, ha, 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 ha. I'm going ahead. You guys work together. And everyone else is like, okay, how are we going to go together? It doesn't matter if they work together. If they work together, they're still going to get less than I got. I just got the 12, or I got the money, and I got a code card. Ha ha. And the cards aren't even. Because you're drawing from a stack of different random cards, it's possible that firepower is the main thing that happens over the course of the game. It might show up on 5 of the missions out of 10. That's very probable. So whoever happened to pick the robot and kind of went towards firepower is going to do much better. And there's no way to know what's coming up in the deck ahead of time. And so I found that problematic. And just working together is like, here, you need 7 of this, or you lose. And so 3 people have 7 of structure, and 1 person does not in a 4-player game, for example. So that 4th player is like, okay, not only am I not going to get the bonus, I'm going to lose 5. So they're like, please take me with you. I'll pay you 2 to take me with you. And so they only lose 2. And they're not that fun negotiations, because many times it's just one person. Maybe you need 20 firepower, and I have 15, and you have 5, and you have 6, and you have 2. You know what? The 2 guys like, I'm not even involved. There's nothing I can do. I could be like, let's make a 3-way team, but who's really going to go for that? Meanwhile, the other 2 are like, okay, well, I'll give you this. I'll only take 25%. And the other guy's like, well, I'll only take 20%. And then it devolves, and they're just not that exciting. There's only so many things that you can work with. And then that's compounded with my 3rd problem with the game, which are the code cards themselves. It's take that. There's some really mean cards. Switch a component with someone else. You mean that component that we fought over real hard in an auction you took, or you're just going to make me lose essentially 5 points, or you're just going to gain 5 points, or you're going to add 2 to a stat. They're crazy. You can really go after the other person, and take that games are okay sometimes, but here they felt too powerful, unfun, and can really swing a huge chunk of points in the game. So those 3 things combined just don't really work. I like the limit breaks, or whatever they're called. I like getting the extra special abilities. I like building my robot up, but I'm building my robot up hoping I'm building their stats for the right thing. I may be and I may not be, and even if I am, someone could just play a card that switches everything around. Near the end of the game, we found that we felt like our stats were all pretty decent. We didn't have room to add more components, so you're better off not even bidding, because you're bidding your victory points and just drawing a code card and hoping you're getting one that really can nail other people to the wall. Seems like there's a good idea here. Seems like a good game underneath all this that needed more development. Unfortunately, it's not for me. That's BetaBotz. Dice Tower Judgment, pretty cool idea, but just not very good.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door.